Hi there, it's Sasia. There is so much you can do to prepare for the IELTS exam. There are books of words to learn, and even thicker books of exercises to complete. But do you really need to do all that? Well, if we apply the Parkinson's law to the exam preparation, it will sound like this. Work, on our case, exam preparation, expands as to fill in the time available for its completion. Fundamentally, your IELTS score depends on your English skills and your IELTS skills. Your IELTS skills are how well you can manage time during your exam, how quickly you can apply the correct strategies to find answers, how well you know and can meet the IELTS requirements in writing and speaking, and so on. In my view, your IELTS preparation is mainly about developing your IELTS skills, which means you can prepare for your exam quite quickly. So let's talk about what you should really do before your exam to improve your chances of passing it. Okay? Let's get started. First of all, it's important to use materials for the correct type of the IELTS test. There are two, academic and general training. So check which one you need. Those who are planning to come to the UK are often required to take IELTS UKVI, which stands for UK Visas and Immigration. The test is the same, but there are extra security checks to make sure the correct candidate takes the test. So IELTS UKVI can be academic or general training. When you're preparing, you should use materials for your type of test. So let's quickly talk about which sections are the same and which are different. IELTS listening and speaking are exactly the same in both IELTS academic and general training. In the reading section, more academic topics are used in the academic exam and everyday topics in the general training exam. The types of tasks and strategies are the same. In IELTS writing, task 1 is different. Academic students are required to describe charts, maps, diagrams, or tables, while general training students write a letter. In task 2, the requirements and types of tasks are the same. There is a slight difference in topics. In the academic exam, you may get more academic topics such as self-driving cars or renewable energy, or may get something more general about music, food, or education. In the general training exam, all the topics are general. So that's the only difference. Now, how should you prepare for your exam? First of all, take a full practice test. You know, it's actually quite difficult to create test materials that have exactly the same level of difficulty and contain no mistakes or confusing questions. That's why you should use official tests. You can find free tests on the IDP and British Council websites, or buy one of the latest Cambridge practice test books. These tests are exactly like the real exam. By the way, don't worry about writing anything down. I'll give you the IELTS study plan with all the links in the PDF format to download. Okay, once you do the test, you see the challenges you're facing. What's next? Start from IELTS writing and speaking. Many begin their preparation with listening and reading, but actually, writing and speaking require more time. On average, most people get their lowest score in IELTS writing. Partly that's because writing is an active skill where you need to actively produce something in English. And it's more difficult than passively understanding the language, like in listening and reading. But partly that's because assessment criteria in IELTS writing are very strict. Not only do examiners check your vocabulary and grammar, the skills we usually associate with knowing a language, but they also check your writing skills. How well you answer the essay question. If you develop your ideas logically. If your position is well argued, and so on. On top of that, you only have 60 minutes to finish 2 tasks. And unfortunately, it's very possible to get an unsatisfactory score in IELTS writing even if you know English well enough, especially if you need band 7 or a higher score. That's why you should prepare for this section thoroughly. Here is how you can do that. First of all, learn what the requirements are. You can find all of them in IELTS band descriptors for task 1 and 2. This is the public version. So study these documents and watch some videos to understand what these requirements actually mean. Then, learn how to structure your answers. For example, if you're taking the IELTS academic exam, your task 1 may look like this. So you're required to write a report describing the data. And the best structure is to introduce the topic and give an overview in the first paragraph. You absolutely must have an overview, which is 1 or 2 sentences where you say what is the main thing you've learned. Then you need to have at least 2 body paragraphs where you describe the main trends. And you must describe trends, not just report every number you see, because you'll be penalized for giving too much detail. I know that the task says summarize the information and report the main trends, but if you don't know all those little things about the requirements, what are the chances of actually meeting them? By the way, I'll link the video with the sample answer to this task in the description. Next, you should learn about different types of tasks in task 1 and task 2. Then when you see the task, you know what you need to do, how to structure it, oh, that's a letter, and can write your answer more quickly. And finally, practice as much as you can. You know, I find that many IELTS guides don't go in depth into what you're actually required to do in writing and how these tasks are assessed. Probably they assume that you already have developed writing skills, perhaps from school, which is not the case in many countries, and it's definitely not the case in mine. And this knowledge gap inspired me to create IELTS writing courses where you can learn everything I'm talking about in one place. I'll link the courses in the description. And whether you take them or not, make sure you know these things before your test. IELTS Speaking. Statistically, it's the second most difficult section, but for different reasons. There are requirements, but I find that if you speak English fluently and just do your best to answer questions, you'll get a high score. The main difficulty is that we don't spend much time speaking when we learn the language, and it's hard to withstand the pressure of this exam. I find that the single best advice is to be talkative. Don't try to be smart, just say something. You may not like the question, so here are some examples. What is your favorite wild animal? What is your favorite sports team? Describe the time when you looked into the sky. You may not feel like saying anything, but remember, if your answer is too short, there's not much English to assess. And if you're struggling to find what to say, your answer is unlikely to be fluent either. You should practice answering common and difficult IELTS speaking questions. There is a large database of those questions, but generally topics are reused over and over. So practice answering them at home on your own aloud. Imagine you practice answering questions about going to a hairdresser or barber. It will be easier for you to discuss this topic again. Of course, there is no guarantee that you get the same topic, but you develop the skill of answering IELTS style questions. And You practice speaking English, which is invaluable before your exam. You should also learn about the exam format. IELTS speaking exams are intense. You get so many questions, one after another, and have to talk. So knowing how the exam is organized and how much you need to say to answer questions in each part makes it a bit easier. For example, in part 2, you need to speak on a given topic between 1 and 2 minutes. Ideally, you should talk until your time is up to show that you can freely speak English and demonstrate as much of your vocabulary and grammar as possible. Practice at home, pick a topic, set the timer, and talk. Now let's discuss the 2 remaining sections, listening and reading. Here, your score mainly depends on how well you know English and how well you can manage time. Because many people never get to questions they could actually answer because they run out of time. So that's why having the correct strategy is important. I have detailed videos about each section, but in short, in IELTS listening, you must do your best to read all the questions before the recording begins. Otherwise, you have to read and listen at the same time, which is not a good idea. After each section of the listening test, there is a bit of time to review your answers. So I use this time to read the coming questions instead. In IELTS reading, you get so much to read that reading everything carefully and looking for answers is not an option unless your reading speed in English is close to that in your first language. Luckily, most questions come in order. You can read the first question, start reading the text, find the answer, read the next question, continue reading the text, find the answer, and so on. Some questions don't come in order. This means that you should know the main types of questions in IELTS reading and understand how to find answers to each of them. IELTS reading also requires the widest vocabulary, and most likely you won't be able to understand everything you're reading. You should try to determine what exactly you're looking for and concentrate on things you understand to locate your answer. Quite often, the most difficult words don't determine any answers. Generally, to prepare for IELTS listening and reading, you should learn about different types of tasks. Learn tips and tricks, such as highlight keywords to help yourself concentrate or cross out incorrect answers. These little things can help you get a few extra points. Then take several official practice tests to learn the format, instructions, and understand how quickly you should get through each section to finish on time. Indeed, your IELTS preparation will take all the time you can dedicate to it. Ultimately, what you should do to prepare for your exam depends on how much time you have. And that's why I've created 3 versions of the IELTS study plan for those who only have a couple of weeks, a month or 2, or 3 months and more. So these plans contain all the essential steps for your preparation and links to free resources you can use. And you can download them right now. And my IELTS preparation courses that can help you nail your writing and speaking are linked in the description below. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!